As we zigzagged along Capricorn, I wanted to find out more, so we headed for the big city, driving 70 miles north of the line to the Namibian capital, Windhoek. After the tranquility of the bush, arriving in Windhoek at night was something of a shock. One thing that struck me about the capital was the number of young women on the streets. Let's keep driving along. I'm going to give them a heart attack. Every time the car stopped at a traffic light, we were approached. What? There are no official figures for the number of sex workers in Namibia. Critics say the government doesn't want to admit they exist. But with HIV/AIDS affecting a quarter of the population, it's a dangerous profession. There's a lot of girls working out here, and the risks they're taking are quite extraordinary. Take a left up here, back to the road outside our hotel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, please, mate. People from across Namibia are attracted to the opportunities offered by the big city, but most of them end up in places like Babylon, a temporary settlement on the fringes of the capital.
They are streaming from all sides, from the south and the north, to look for work. They don't find the work, and then the ladies on the street and the...
Father Herman Klein Hitpas has been helping Windhoek's prostitutes for the past 12 years.
In short.
In a country where more than a third of people live on less than 50 pence a day, prostitution can be a matter of survival. Independence has brought change, but not fast enough for people living here. Where did you live before here?
In town.
In town?
Yeah.
Father Herman introduced me to Tessa Perry, a sex worker who lives in Babylon. Where did you get the metal from?
This is from the car, you know, old cars.
Bits of the old cars?
Yes.
The panels? Yeah. This is a bonnet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bonnet. There is too much rain is coming and I must put this thing on. You see.
Does it feel basic to you, or are you happy?
I'm not happy to stay like this.
Father Herman's Stand Together project is funded with donations from Catholic parishes in Germany. He's trying to break the cycle that leads from deprivation to prostitution by supporting the women with both food and education. I mean, do you see young sex workers? Do you see children working in the sex industry?
From 9 years on.
9-year-old prostitutes?
Yes. Sometimes the mother takes the children to the street and I said, you will not be helped. Doesn't matter. My child makes money.
Father Herman has risked the wrath of Rome by giving out condoms to the prostitutes, despite the Vatican's opposition. So you're getting... So in this box, that's 100...
Yeah.
100 lubricated condoms from Alabama.
Yeah. These girls call this like an umbrella.
An umbrella
against rain.
You earn money.
Not now.
3/4 of the women who use the centre are HIV positive, including Tessa. Did you fear, were you concerned that you would get it? Were you worried, or did you think you were sort of invulnerable?
Sometimes customers would refuse to pay me, and they would often refuse to use a condom. This is how I got AIDS, how I caught it.
Without the father's help, Tessa would still be selling her body, and life on the streets is a desperate struggle.
Sometimes they would pay me with just food, like chips and hot dogs. A chicken leg to have sex with me.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's very kind of you. While there is an emerging black middle class in Windhoek, for many Namibians, living standards have changed little since independence from apartheid South Africa in 1990. The Namibian government has always chosen revolutionary and controversial friends. Now it finds itself being wooed by a new suitor, a superpower that is changing the face of the entire continent. To find out more, I went to the University of Namibia. Some of the courses here are a little surprising. Ah, Professor! Nice to see you. Professor Yangang Fu teaches an increasingly popular subject, Chinese. The professor has been surprised by the demand for his classes. Why do you think that Namibians are wanting to learn Chinese?
Actually, I also asked them such a question. They said Chinese because Chinese language is getting very, very important because of the Chinese is economic power. As I often call it, Chinese is going to be the money language.
In the last few years, China has arrived in Africa, exploiting the continent's vast natural resources. And Africa is also a huge market for cheap Chinese goods. It was time to continue my journey along the Tropic of Capricorn. But I was determined to see for myself the extent of the new Chinese influence in Africa. 50 miles outside Windhoek, I discovered a factory with Chinese managers overseeing Namibian workers who are turning the desert sand into bricks. Hi Daniel, Simon.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Luckily they had an interpreter.
Those guys, they cannot speak English. So the Chinese embassy asked me to come here. You have to help them, those guys, to coordinate with the local people.
Facilitating, acting as the intermediary.
Yeah.
And are you enjoying the work?
Yeah, I'm enjoying Namibia very much.
Trade between China and Africa is now worth a staggering £30 billion a year. Chinese firms are building roads, dams and power stations across the continent. An estimated 750,000 Chinese now live or work in Africa. You've been here how long?
2 years now.
2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
And where in China did you come from?
My hometown is close to Hong Kong.
So down in the south?
Yeah, down south.
You should be used to the heat.
Huh?
You should be used to the heat then.
Of course, yeah, you can see my skin is totally dark now.
And are these bricks for export or are they for Namibia?
Most of the bricks will go to the north of Namibia because in the north of Namibia there are a lot of Chinese construction companies. The Chinese embassy say Namibia is open to the world now. Namibia government has a good relationship with the Chinese government.
Are there many Chinese businesses coming to Namibia now?
Oh yeah, of course.
The Chinese are being welcomed by both democracies and dictatorships across Africa, partly because they don't ask too many awkward questions about corruption and human rights. Well, you start to hear a lot now about how China is building its business empire, but this is it really happening on the ground. This is China arriving here in Africa. On the surface, democratic Namibia defies many African stereotypes of war and famine. New investment and tourism seem to offer hope. But the country's violent history has left its mark on the land and its people, as I was about to see at first hand. Near the border with Botswana, the Tropic of Capricorn passes a small settlement called Aminuis, on the edge of the Kalahari Desert. Following the massacre at the hands of the Germans early last century, some of the Herero survivors were forced onto this rough, infertile land no one else wanted. Today, they eke out a living by farming cattle. Every morning, the elders perform the ritual of the holy fire, communing with their ancestors about all aspects of their lives.
If you bought a new car, you just come here, they slaughter a sheep or a goat, and then...
If you buy a new car?
Yeah. For us, if you buy a new car, then I have to take my car home. My grandfather will now talk to his ancestor saying that this is Peter Hein, the boy went for studies, he bought a car, and this is...
Bless the car.
Yeah.
Peter Hein Uakiza Kazapua is a Herero guide who lives in Windhoek, but his family have a farm near here. He explained how the women light the holy fire in the most sacred place on the farm, next to the cattle corral. Does this still mean something to you, even though you're now a wealthy city boy?
Yeah, I believe in this holy fire. It's really something that I strongly believe in. Okay, she's now finished, she will go back now, and then the old man will come out.
He goes and sits by it after she started it?
Yeah.
Despite their history of violence at the hands of the colonial power, Herero women wear a style of European clothing from the 19th century. And when the village elder emerged, I was astonished to see him wearing a colonial military uniform. Oh, you need to take your hat off as well.
Yes, do.
is the uniform worn in commemoration of what the Germans did to the Herero people?
It reminds us of what they did to the Herero.
The Herero assimilated military dress into their culture, partly as a way of remembering the war with Germany. For them, the holy fire is more than a method of communicating with dead relatives. It also has magical power.
If the children get sick, we come to the holy fire, and through it we talk to our ancestors. And if there are no other problems, the fire can heal.
But healing the sense of injustice felt by the Herero is hard. Despite independence, many Hereros still live in these infertile areas of Namibia.